we are live. So welcome to Coffee with Christy and Crew. We will give you guys a few minutes to join us. We're streaming live in the 𝗵𝗃𝗿𝗄 Facebook group, which is for our clients and alumni and retreat attendees. So while we're waiting to see who is going to join us, I'm Christy 𝗵𝗃𝗿𝗄. I'm the CEO of 𝗵𝗃𝗄𝗁 Coaching, and we are joined by special guests today. Brooke Wilson is always there as our systems boss riding shotgun. And then we have Stephanie Brackett, Blair, Cody, and Robert Garcia who are joining us today. Super excited to get into that conversation. And while we're waiting for you guys to jump on live, I'm just going to give you our usual preview of what's coming up. We have a lot of things going on right now. So we are teaching live again, yay, in person. I will be in Fort Mill, South Carolina, June 7th, teaching 10 Secrets of a Mega EA, followed by June 14th in Atlanta, Georgia. Stephanie will be teaching Systems Are Sexy on the East Coast in Rochester, New York, August 12th, and in Indianapolis, September 9th. And Brooke, if you want to on Facebook, go ahead and just put the link in there for that. And then we have the 𝗵𝗃𝗄𝗏 Leader Retreat coming up in October. We just released tickets about, I guess it was a week or two ago. October 21 through 23 is a 3-day leadership retreat for operations only. And early bird tickets are on sale now, and the early bird price expires June 15th. So you want to get your tickets now. We're, I think, about 40 to 45% sold out already. We have people registered from 23 states and 13 different brokerages. We are broker agnostic. As long as you like pink, you are good. So all brokerages are welcome. And we'll put the link in the chat that for that as well. So let's jump in. And today's topic is spaghetti against the wall, or systems that stand tall. So I know a lot of you guys out there have agents, rainmakers, people on your team that have all these ideas, and they walk in and every day is a new idea, and let's just try this and throw the spaghetti up and see if it sticks against the wall. And so I reached out to, thank you, Stephanie. Stephanie coaches 2 of our guests today. So I've reached out to 3 people on 3 different topics who have actually taken these ideas and turned them into systems that generate results, right? They're not just ideas that happen to work. So we are talking today about TikTok, golden letters, and referrals from the promise. So before we get started, let's just let everybody introduce themselves. So Blair, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us who you are, where you're from, and all that stuff.
Yeah, thank you, Christy. So my name is Blair Cody. I am the Director of Operations for the Arant team in Austin, Texas. Do you want to do units, all of that as well? Okay,
yeah,
perfect.
Good framework.
So our goal this year is 288 units, volume of 144 million, and GCI of 4.3 million.
Love it. Awesome. Robert, tell us who you are.
Yes, hi, my name is Robert Garcia. I'm the Director of Sales and Operations of the Eric Stewart Group here in the Washington, D.C. metro area. Stephanie has been my coach for over 2 years, so I've learned a lot from her, of course, from Christy, and good to meet you, Blair and Brooke here. So I'm very unusual, will you probably call it, because I love operations and systems, but also I'm a salesperson. I'm a licensed realtor. And I create systems based on the need of, it's out there for the agents. In terms of our volume, our goal for this year is 200 transactions. We've been averaging at about 167 to 175. So we want to go to 200 transactions this year. That probably will be close to $200 billion in gross commission, and that probably 4.5 in GCI.
Love it. Awesome. Yeah. Nice price point here in our Washington, D.C. area. And
Yes.
Steph, you want to unmute and introduce yourself?
I was just leaving it muted because one of my 18 vacuums is running and it was like bumping up against the wall. Stephanie Brackett. I am the former COO of Anderson Hicks Group. I currently now work for DRO Investments as the VP of Operations, writing all their systems for them. So
awesome.
I coach for 𝗵𝗃𝗄𝗏 Coaching, and I teach classes for 𝗵𝗃𝗄𝗏 Coaching.
She does it all, and she has 18 vacuums. So if you're joining us on Coffee with Christy for the first time, by the way, this is not a class. this is just meant to be a casual conversation. So we like to pick up some casual conversations. So let's start with you, Blair. So Blair has been, I know a lot of you guys have heard of golden letters, but we probably also have some people that don't really know what golden letters are. So do you want to give us an idea of what that is, and then tell us what your success is in that area, and then we'll backtrack and talk about how that came to be.
Sorry, there's two of me because I gave Susan the wrong link to join. I gave her the link to join instead of to
Hi,
watch.
Susan Arant. This is why this is a casual
Sorry,
conversation. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us what is golden letters for those of us that are listening that don't know what that is.
Yeah, absolutely. So a golden letter is a lead generation source. We essentially take a letter, we mail it out to a zip code or a neighborhood, and it essentially says, would you be interested in selling your home at 123 Main Street to a client of mine? If so, please call. And then we have a specific phone number for each zip code or area that we're mailing to. And we started doing this about 2 years ago, I think in early to mid 2020. And over the last 2 years have really refined and developed this system. And we've been seeing some terrific results from it.
Awesome. So speaking of results, that's the whole point of this call. This is not just spaghetti, Susan walking in, oh, we need to do golden letters. What are the results that you are getting actually?
Yeah, so year to date, just looking at 2022, we have already 107K in closed GCI, 720K in signed, active, and pending GCI. So that is from 5 closed listings, 3 pending, 8 active, and 17 coming soon, and signed listings so far.
Okay, that's awesome. So I often hear people saying I have success in a certain area, and they'll give you the numbers, but it's not because of what you actually did. So let's go back to, what did this look like kind of at the entrepreneurial level before you got purposeful? And then what did you do to actually turn it into a system that's generating the results that you have now?
Yeah, so in the beginning, it was really just kind of piecing together what it was going to look like. They started off in Steiner Ranch, which is our farm. So we already kind of had a presence here. People knew Jean's name already, and just kind of put together piece by piece. At the beginning, we really didn't have any clear KPIs. We didn't have a clear estimate of how much it should be costing us per letter. And we just kind of started with our farm and started picking zip codes that sounded like, we had a lot of buyers in that area, things like that, areas that Jean was particularly familiar with, which is all of Austin, if we're getting real, but yeah. And just kind of started that way and learned a lot of lessons, learned that we need to have a non-solicitation disclosure at the bottom of every letter. Over time, we learned we needed to be really clear that it was a listing agent coming into the home for the appointment and not a buyer's agent, because that we had more success actually that way. And also just refining our scripts so that our ISAs were able to convert better and set appointments, and our agents were able to convert better once they got into the home.
Love that. So how did you know when you first started sort of throwing out the ideas, trying these different things out, at what point did you go, like, we really need to systematize this? And what were the steps that you took to systematize it?
I think it was really when, they started seeing just massive return. So in 2020, when they started, they had 170K in GCI based on an $11,000 investment, which is just like, that doesn't exist, right? That return rate. And so it wasn't like, let's keep throwing spaghetti at the wall and hope that we can continue and have good luck. No, it was, let's figure out why this is working so that we can make sure it continues to work.
I love that. And then what were the steps that you took to determine that and to figure out what was important and what wasn't? Steph, and feel free to jump in, because I know Steph was along the journey too.
So the first thing that they did was partner with a title company to pull turnover reports for the different counties that we work in, so that we could look at, what was successful about the zip codes that we did and where are other zip codes that are having similar results. And based on our market in Austin, we were able to determine that we really needed to be targeting areas that had a turnover rate over 4% and an average price point over 500,000. And that was where we were seeing the most amount of success. We also, like I mentioned earlier, got really intentional about our scripting and paying a lot of attention to what was working and what wasn't. And that was how we realized that setting the expectation that it was a listing agent coming into the home. Maybe we set a couple fewer appointments, but the appointments that we were setting were a lot stronger and the conversion rate there was a lot higher because we weren't doing that whole bait and switch that it's a buyer preview, but it's really a listing agent coming into your home.
I love the detail that you guys were super purposeful in the tracking, in the knowing the numbers. And then did you do A/B trials in terms of scripts, or you just evolved the script over time based on the results, the conversion ratios?
Yeah, the scripts just kind of evolved over time, and it was a lot of, the listing agents and the ISAs working really closely together. Every missed listing was an opportunity to improve the scripts and overcome new objections, and we've just refined that over the last 2 years. So even in the last 6 months, we've seen this just explode exponentially because of the scripts at this level. And then another thing we did to systematize it was just scale it up. We are always rolling. The letters that are in people's mailboxes this week have been in the works for 6 to 8 weeks, and we're 6 to 8 weeks out in planning. So we always know we're going to have 2,000 to 3,000 letters going out every week. We went from one person doing our letters to now we've got, 2 and looking to add more people processing the letters. So just scaling helped us systematize, and systematizing helped us scale.
I love that. Well, I know if you guys are getting 15, it's about 15 to 1 ROI, I think, from the numbers you said earlier. I mean, that's a pretty incredible ROI. Steph, what were you going to add?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Blair, but the one thing that hasn't changed is the actual letter. You haven't tried to fluff it up or add more words. It's very, very simple. It's like 2 sentences.
Correct. It literally says, would you be interested in selling your home at property address to a client of mine? If so, please give me a call. And it has a phone number, and that's the entire letter. Yeah. And it intrigues people. They really call to see if it's a scam. They call to see if we really got a buyer. They call because they've been thinking about selling and our letter was perfect timing. But either way, they call, they raise their hand. And that enables our ISAs to figure out what was the motivation for them picking up the phone and set that appointment.
Here's what I hear when I hear you saying that is the mistake a lot of people make is they don't follow the model. You follow the model, the letter is the letter. You didn't change it based on your own reaction to, if I got this letter, I wouldn't call. And I see people make that mistake all the time. And instead, like, this is the model and it works, so let's just do that and see if it works. Like,
exactly.
I love that.
That's a mistake I see other people or other teams rather making with this, is that they're not following the model, but also they're not doing it at the scale that you need to do it. I think that the numbers can kind of scare people, but we know based on past history, if we send out 5,000 letters, we're only going to get 19 callbacks, but we'll set 7 appointments, hold 4, and sign 2, which is still giving us a 6 to 1 rate of return on the almost $5,000 investment to send out those letters in the beginning.
How long did you have to invest in it before you started seeing the return?
I think starting in Steiner, and which was our farm, helped a lot to see immediate return because people were already familiar with Jean's name. There wasn't so much of, is this a scam? They'd seen the signs, they've driven past our building, they've, had friends, neighbors, family members who have sold homes with Jean. So that helped kind of have immediate success. And so we didn't have that kind of lose faith in the model in the beginning that a lot of people do.
Have you moved into other markets that are stretched a little bit where you don't have as much name awareness? And
absolutely.
Are the numbers still holding up in those markets, or are they a little less?
Absolutely. So they're less than they were initially our first go around in Steiner, but they're on par with what our second round of letters in our farm was. So
interesting.
You're always going to be the most successful with letters the first time you mail out because nobody's seen it before.
Okay, love that. So if I'm listening, I'm an ops person, what's the one thing you want me to know about golden letters? What's the most important thing for me to know?
Track everything. track everything. Track how many calls you're getting for every zip code, track how many appointments you're setting, how much you're spending on stamps, on envelopes, on printer paper, paying your letter processor. Track everything, because then at the end of the day, when you say, oh my gosh, I've spent $7,000 on golden letters this month, you can come into your tracker and say, well, I've spent 7,000, but here's how much we've made. And here's how many new people we've added into our database through the system, and how much pending GCI we have coming in because of this.
How many people have you added into your database that haven't converted yet?
That's a great question. It's probably the one thing I didn't have in front of me, but I can grab my handy dandy tracker and I
can circle back at some point and just put it in the comments, because I would bet that you have a huge amount that you've added that will turn into business down the road as you're touching them.
Yeah,
right?
Unconverted, I just looked, it's just under 1,000.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome, because we should all be growing our databases. Okay, so Blair, that was so awesome. Thank you. I'm going to move on. And if you guys have questions as you're listening, I think we just have a few people listening, pop them in the comments. We're going to kind of do the highlights next of TikTok, and then we'll do the promise, and then we'll circle back with questions that anybody has on any of the systems. So Robert, tell us kind of what you're doing, where are you seeing success, what do the results look like, and then we'll kind of backtrack to the beginning to now.
Sure, no problem. Thank you. So, TikTok it's sort of like a new social media channel for many people. Yes, it started with teenagers probably playing and doing things with TikTok, but then pretty fast people realized that it's growing exponentially faster than Instagram and Facebook, and now realtors are taking advantage. So at the beginning, like anything in life, right, without a system, without a process, it's just like one video. Hey, look at where I am. Another video. Hey, look what I'm eating. So stuff like that, was just posting things like that randomly without having any process, and nothing was really going anywhere. So one day I was watching a webinar from somebody that it's well known in the real estate industry in New York, and was talking about your brand, social media, and the things that you should be doing so that other people, will come to you. And it says, it's a given that you already are a real estate agent. People already know you. You already tell that to a million times to people, but what other things are you well known for? And then that's when I kind of like the aha moment came. And I always tell people, I'm not about sales pressure. It's just education, right? So if you educate a client, a customer, even somebody in the office through a process, they actually will understand it better. So I started just doing more purposeful videos about market trends, what's happening with the housing market, what's going on in the local community, and so on. And then I noticed people were liking my videos more, and I noticed people were really following me and asking me questions. And the biggest aha moment was when somebody reached out to me and says, hey, Robert, I've been trying to get a hold of you. I mean, and let's be honest, I get like probably 300 spam phone calls every day, right? I mean, I just see like says spam, I'm not going to answer. So it was this lady with an area code outside of the Washington, D.C. metro area that was calling me. And she said, I've been looking at your videos. I like them. They're very informative. We're looking to sell and buy. And I said, okay, how can I help you? So we had a conversation. It turned out to be over $2.2 million worth of business combined. And that's when I said, okay, I think I know what I need to do here. I need to have a process. This needs to be repetitive. This has to be a process that can work without, I still have to shoot the videos, but outside of that, it has to work without me having to have my hands on it. And it can grow. I can scale. I can then do, 60 videos if I want a day versus 2 or 3. So that's when the moment that came to me that I said, I have to find a system. So I started looking online for, ways that you can start producing videos, and actually took something that I use for my YouTube channel and then just apply it to TikTok, and it works fine.
Yeah, I love multi-purposing, right? Work smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
Give us your name. I was just looking you up on TikTok. I don't have it in front of me in case people want to follow you on TikTok.
Sure. It's at Robert Garcia Realtor, all one word. And you can just follow me there, and you can just see, all the videos. I mean, it's nothing salesy. It's nothing threatening. It's nothing, weird. It's just real stuff that you really like. One of my good videos is like 10 questions to ask a realtor. There's nothing wrong with that, right? You just ask 10 questions before you hire one, and people really will pay attention, and they just start, liking the videos and so on. So I will say this, there at the beginning, I did like anybody is doing on TikTok. They're just doing the memes and all those other videos, making fun of other things. But I didn't feel like that was me. I felt like somebody, if a seller, if a buyer sees me, what I'm doing, they're probably not going to call me or hire me. I still want to be funny, but I also wanted to be informative. So that's when I make the change. And all of a sudden my channel just blew up one day. I woke up one day and I had like 5,000 followers. No joke, like 5,000 people just follow me. And I was like, holy cow, what just happened last night? And there was just a couple videos people liked, and they were just trending.
So I hear two
and
things:
like in anything,
authenticity and providing value. You're being yourself and you're educating people, which is who you are as a realtor.
that is correct. This is not mistake number one people make with TikTok. Is not a scripted format. It's a very natural, organic format. Okay, so if you misspell this, say something wrong, that's okay. Just keep going. People want to see you're authentic, and of course, you have to be informative, right? You want to tell people what's happening in the industry and all the other things that are, interest rates and so on. So that's what people are wanted, and it has to be short. Has to be 30 to 60 seconds. After that, it does not have the same impact. I did some videos that were about 3.5 minutes before, did not have the same impact. 30 seconds to 60, it was good.
Okay, so take us, knowing that we have operations people listening to the call who are detail oriented, what are some of the tips that would help them make doing TikTok scalable, duplicatable, a system? Like what? So we've got all the, maybe make the list of topics. Now we know what we're going to talk about. That actually, as you're talking, it's not a whole lot different than 10 years ago. I was reflecting back when I was on stage with 𝗂𝗂𝗃. What I talked about was Facebook and Twitter and blogging. All those it's the same topics. It's just a shorter format and unscripted live, right? So what are some of the steps? What are some things that would be helpful for them?
So the best thing you can do is the research portion. It's just the first thing you have to do. You have to plan ahead for your next 30, 60 days. Now, keep in mind, there's going to be some topics that are going to be hot in the moment. So you cannot plan everything for the next 30 to 60 days. But if you're going to have a series about buying a house in Washington, D.C., and you want to have a series of 30 days for that, that's okay. You can do like that. But if all of a sudden interest rates jump to, 1%, then you have to do something that is trending in the moment. So research is number one thing that you have to do. Have a social media calendar so you can put it in your Google, your Outlooks. Just have create another calendar. It's a social media calendar. Look at the keywords that are trending. That's very important, trending keywords. And the last thing is research of the music that is trending in TikTok, because that's huge. If you have music that is trending, that's when people really will start following you more, paying more attention. And then just try it for 30 days. Okay. Then go back to the system and look at the system. Says what's working, what's not working, what do I need to improve, or what do I need to implement? It's a map of, do I need better equipment? Do I need better software? Do I need more help with all this? So you just got to take a look for the next 30 days and then tweak it and just keep working with the system that you already have in place. It's not like the letter that Blair was saying that you just write one letter and send it out and you just keep printing multiple copies. Social media does not work that way. It just actually, you have to make changes, but don't do them on the first day. Like, oh my gosh, I did my first week of videos and nothing came out of it. Don't freak out. That's just, social media is just organic. It will have to pick some momentum. Just look at send it to your friends to say, hey, is this something that you think it's worth your time or not? Get some feedback from friends, from clients that you like. Just, just pick your channel and send it to people. Say, hey, what do you like about my channel? What do you hate? And then just get that feedback. And with that, continue to create the processes and systems. So that way, at some point, like right now, my system is 2 videos a day. I'm very good at sending 2 videos a day. And of course, they get repurposed to all their channels, and that's working well.
Okay, and you're just recording them and putting them up, or is somebody producing them for you, like a VA?
Yeah, we have a VA producer. And so what I do is just grab my phone or my camera, got the script, just do the production. So I will probably on Mondays or Tuesday, I will record all the videos for that week. And then they just get uploaded on a day with the links of the articles that I was using or using as reference, so that some graphs and things can be inserted. And then they are sent back to me to review. And once I like them, then they go up for, they get uploaded.
Okay, that's awesome. And I had one other question. I gotta remember what it was. Steph, is there anything you want to add from, oh, I know what it was. How long did it take from when you started on TikTok till you started seeing a return?
It was probably 60 to 90 days when I started to see the return. The system itself needs some time to grab your videos compared to other, because what happens is there are other people that are producing content at a much higher level when you step into the game. So the algorithm kind of rewards those people that are producing better content, because what they want is eyes in front of the app, right? People just to staying within the app as long as they can. So the system doesn't reward you immediately, but once it starts seeing that you have some momentum, and some consistency, right? That's very important, because if they just see that you put 5-10 videos and then you go away, they don't like that. They want to see consistency. Once that happens, then you will start to see more people liking you and coming your way.
I love it. Consistency and tracking are the 2 things that are consistent with what Blair and Robert, what you both said, right? Okay, thank you very much, Robert. So you guys go to his TikTok account and follow him, and you can get ideas for what kind of stuff. Now, you may not do exactly the same thing, right? Because it's got to be what is authentic to you. All right, Steph. So everybody knows Mike Hicks, and everybody knows the promise. Everybody doesn't know it, but you can tell us what it is. And what they don't know is that you're the one that actually turned it from spaghetti into systems, because it was happening, but not consistently. And so let's start with, what is the promise? What were the results that you got over the last year or last 2 years when you were with Anderson Hicks? And then we'll walk back through it.
Okay. So the promise is a script that Mike's been in business for, we always say he has 33 years between the years. He's been in business for 33 years. And this is just a script he came up with probably 30 years ago. He's always been very successful at real estate, and he just never let anybody out of the car without giving them this script. And so the script basically is saying, hey, I'm going to provide you with the best service possible. And in return, I'm going to ask that you call, text, or email me with the name and number of someone else I can help in real estate. So it turned into a whole big script, and he's given that script to everybody. And before we merged teams, Mike was known for the promise, and he did it, but that's all it was a script. It was just the script. There was no tracking behind it and really no system. And Mike himself does 99% of his business is repeat and referral business. So it obviously works, but they just weren't tracking how it was working, and it wasn't really scalable to train other people.
So it was working for him, but not everybody necessarily on the team was using it, right?
Correct,
yeah.
correct,
Okay.
correct. So when we merged teams, we kind of took, the promise, and I just put it into everything. I implemented it into everything. So all of our emails, in our closing plans and listing plans, all of our text messages, everything mentioned the promise. We talked about it more. The sales team, Chris 𝗵𝗃𝗍𝗔, who ran the sales team, he ensured that everybody on the team learned the promise. So that was his portion of it. They all had to learn it. Everybody had to memorize it. It was in the onboarding process. And then I took the back end in the tracking and building it into the actual administrative systems.
And what were the results that you can tell us?
Yeah, so for 2020 and 2021, we closed 196 units that were from repeat and referral business. 1.9 million in GCI.
Wow.
So major repeat and referral business. We ran about a 60-40 repeat and referral, 60% repeat and referral, 40% new business over the course of the years that since we merged teams. Those were our numbers. And I know a lot of teams, you know, they're out there and they're running maybe 25% repeat and referral, and the rest is all new business. And the issue with new business is it's very expensive.
Yes. And I think we have a lot of teams in real estate. In fact, all three of you guys represent teams that have been in real estate for a long time, that have deep client bases, deep databases. So if this system was implemented, there's a whole opportunity for a lot of business there. So so you told us kind of what it looked like at the entrepreneurial level. Let's get a little bit more nitty gritty on what did it look like once you systematized it, made it duplicatable, made it scalable.
Yep. So we basically we started tracking the fact that we knew the agents knew it, right? They'd all learned it. They could all regurgitate it and say it, but we needed to know, were they actually delivering it to the client? And so the way we systematized to make sure that it was actually being delivered is our closing coordinators. That was the rule, is it had to be done prior to going under contract. So when we went under contract and our closing coordinators made their welcome call, they basically called the client and said, "Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, this is Nicole with Anderson Hicks Group. I'm super excited. I'll be working with Mike on your transaction. I'll be helping you through the entire closing process. Now, Mike talked to you about the promise, yes?" And they asked that question. And if they said, "I don't know what you're talking about," Nicole would say, "Well, our team has this goal, this promise to create an experience that you can't imagine being any better." And she'd start the script and they'd go, "Oh, yeah. He did talk to us about that." She'd say, "Okay, great. I just want you to know it's the whole team. It's not just Mike. So if you ever need anything," and then she would mark off in our database that yes, the script had been delivered. So we could track that it was delivered. Now, if she started the script and they're like, "Nope, he didn't talk to me about that," she would mark no, that it had not been delivered, and a task would fire to the sales manager saying, "Hey, the Smiths came in, I gave them the welcome call and they were not familiar with the promise. A task has been assigned to Mike to call them and deliver it." So we were very purposeful about making sure we tracked. And then on the job form, when the agent turned in their listing or their closing documents, we actually asked them, "Did you deliver the promise, yes or no?" So that she knew if it was no already, she wasn't even going to ask them. She was going to fire the task to tell them to do it. If they said yes, she was verifying that yes, indeed, they had gotten it. They weren't just marking the box.
I love that. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys did script practice. You said the promise every day, every team meeting,
Fridays was promise day.
Fridays was promise day. I just have this vision of the whole staff lined up in the halls or in your team meeting room. And that included operations, right?
Oh yeah. Yep.
So everyone on the team knows.
Yep. I can still do it word for word.
Right. I can
even 2 months later. Yeah. And it was funny because we would go in waves. I mean, we're human. We're like any other team, right? We would go in waves and we would do it really, really well for a really long time. And then we would take our eyes off script practice and people would start not doing it really well. And at the end of the year last year, I don't remember what happened, but we had a promise off and it was awful. Like it was horrible. And Mike's like, "Well, if that's the promise you're delivering, I feel sorry for the clients." And so the focus came back around promise again. And it was back to every Friday. It's not one of those things that you have to keep practicing. You will forget it if you stop doing it. You have to keep practicing. It's just like any other script.
And I love that the operations team is part of it, right? Because I think people hear the word script and fear comes up. If I'm operations, like, I don't want to give it, that feels really salesy. I liked having scripts because that gave me confidence. I can read a script talking on the phone to somebody from my computer and they have no idea I'm looking at my computer, right? So
yep. 100%. Yeah,
I love that. Let's see, we talked about measuring results. Did you guys publish out your results to the team about how often the script's getting delivered and what the referrals were? Like, what did you share?
Oh yeah, I mean, The hustle board, we had a hustle board that went out every single day to everybody, and it had % of promises delivered on it. And we generally ran about 90 to 95%. 90 to 95% of our clients received the script prior to going under contract.
And how long did it take you to get from, okay, we just merged these two teams and we don't have any systems and all the things. Now we're doing scripts, we're measuring. How long did it take you to get up to 90 to 95?
6 months, maybe.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, we merged in November. We went live on 𝗪𝗶𝗿 in March, and we had the hustle board shortly thereafter, and we're measuring results. So it was.
What's the key to being able to move that in 6 months to a 90 to 95% ratio?
Consistency and talking about it all the time.
So was that kind of your team's one thing at that point?
The promise?
1.9, yeah, 1.9%. I mean, 1.9 million in GCI is not too shabby. I would feel
not
like
too
that's
shabby.
probably one of your most important things.
I would say, yeah, right when we were merging, it definitely was one of the main focuses because it was Mike's claim to fame and it was Mike's ability to produce. That was how he did it. And so everybody knew this is a secret and it works, and it's really not a secret. And everybody in 𝗘𝗰𝗵 knew that Mike did it. We couldn't be the one team that wasn't actually systematizing it and doing it consistently. So yeah, it definitely was a topic of conversation.
So what's the one thing you want operations people to know who are implementing the promise?
Don't change the script. Just like the golden letters, the script is the script. It works. And if you listen to Mike talk about it, he talks about the first part is explaining what's going to happen. The second part is explaining how we want that to happen. And third part is reiterating how we want it to happen. We're teaching people how to give us referrals. So don't change the script. The script is written the way it is because we're teaching them how. So operations people, don't change the script. You need to figure out, how do I implement this and how do I track it? What can I use to track the results of this right now? I was lucky enough to have a Sean Anderson who can write tracking stuff for me. And I just said, hey, like, I'm going to build this in. We're going to ask the question, can you build it on the back end? And he did. So you just have to figure out, how can you track it within your system? Whatever system you're using, how do you track whether or not the results are happening?
Love that. Good. Blair, are you guys tracking the promise?
Not at the level that Stephanie, not at the level that Anderson Hicks is tracking.
Okay, good. We'll have you back a year from now and hear your results from leveling up on the promise. Okay, so let's just back up to the aerial. We kind of went into the nitty-gritty of spaghetti and systems. Like, what do you want people to know from an aerial point of view, operationally, when people come in with all these ideas? I came back from Gary Keller Mastermind. I have 27 new ideas because I sat down and had dinner with 10 other rainmakers, and we all have these great ideas, and they walk in your office and now we're going to do these 5 things. Walk me through that conversation, that thought process, any words of wisdom you have, because you guys have taken ideas and turned them into systems, and that's what our role is. And you've turned them into systems that give results. So what words of wisdom do you want to share on those topics? Robert, you want to start?
Sure, thanks. So our team leader is very creative. He's a high eye, so he's very creative. He gets a lot of ideas. So the number one challenge is this something that you're going to do once, or this is something that is going to be repetitive? And how many times are we going to repeat this? Because if it is repetitive, then that means we need to create a system. So there is a letter that we received from Dave Ramsey not long ago that talks about the different profiles from the disc. And in the letter, the team lead says that they're on an island and they want to build a bridge to the other island that is nearby. So the team lead comes and said, we need to build a bridge to that island, and then to the other island, to the other island. And then the people that are the engineers, the C's and the S's says, wait a minute. We have to have a system. We need material. We need, the manpower. We need all these things to build these bridges so that we can do one. And then there's the other one and the other one. And it becomes a repetitive process. And then we learn from the mistakes and we can minimize the impact of the negative. So That's why I always tell it. If you only want to try it once, by all means, try it and do it on your own. But if this is something that we are going to put as a system, as a pillar of the business, then yes, we have to brainstorm a system that works well and just put it to work. And in the process, we'll also learn what parts of the system are working and the other ones that are not, and we'll make the changes accordingly.
I love that phrase, pillar of the system. Is this going to be a pillar of our business versus just another idea that we throw out? Love that. Sometimes you don't know until you try them, but to try them systematically. Blair, what would you add to that?
I would say document everything right from the very beginning. Keep track of what you're trying. Is it working? All of your lessons learned. Because I wasn't actually here when we initially started this golden letter system, but it was so well documented that I could look back and feel like I was there and that I learned those lessons as well, and we can build on it. So we're not retrying things that we tried 2 years ago that already we know they didn't work. We've got that documented and we can just keep building and expanding.
I love that. So 2 questions, if you're not already asking them, for those listening. Every buyer and seller, how did you hear about us? Why did you choose us? Right? Because it could be 2 different things. I heard about you on TikTok, but I saw 5 other realtors on TikTok. You're the only one who is actually educating people versus being silly, for example. Or I heard about you because I got this letter, but I looked you up and saw all your reviews on Google, so I knew you were the real thing, right? You want to track both of those. Steph, what would you add back to that original question?
I mean, I worked with some visionaries, right? Chris Bertinoli is a visionary. He's got a million ideas. 990,000 of them, are crap ideas, and 10, and some of them are golden. So it really is trying to refine and say, okay, you just brought me 5 great ideas. If you could only do one right now, which one would it be? And make them narrow it down to one, because they're going to come to you with 100. And honestly, you're going to start on 50 of them and get halfway in, and they're going to have forgotten about it and moved on to something else. So if you can only do one, which one would it be? And then I'll go build that for you. And then make sure you keep checking in, because they may change their mind and you're wasting your time. So make sure as you're building the system, you're checking in. Is this what you wanted? Is this what you envisioned? Is this what you were thinking? Am I giving you what you wanted? Yes, 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 yes. Great. And then boom, you end up with this system.
Love it. And that's why once a week business meeting, that is the ops boss's business meeting, is so important. I'm so passionate about that, because that's the time where you can check in. You can also park things in the parking lot. They have ideas on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Awesome. I got it. We'll talk about it at our business meeting on Friday. By Friday, they've forgotten 3 of the 5 things that they don't care about them anymore. Now you've already narrowed down to 2, and now you just got to figure out the one. All right, what else? Anything else we want to share on this topic, spaghetti or systems, before we wrap up?
Another thing that we do is if somebody comes with an idea, we kind of do like a quick interview just to make sure that idea will actually fit, kind of what Stephanie was saying, will fit into what we're trying to do. Otherwise, I don't have time to waste, or my staff or my VAs, to be creating things that are not going to work. So we always want to know why we need to use that idea, why it needs to be implemented, and how that idea aligns with what we're trying to do here for the future. If it doesn't check off 2 of the 3 boxes,
Robert, give me an example of that. Like somebody comes to you with an idea and it's not going to check off the boxes. Give me an example of that, and how would you handle it?
So for example, somebody would have come and said, hey, we have this local event that is happening and in our area in Rockville, like the farmers market or something like that is happening, and there is some people over there that are doing some advertising. Actually, I'll give you a good one. I remember this one. Somebody came and says, you see they go to the grocery store, in the carts that you push, there is like this plastic thing where you sit the kids that is advertising for realtors, insurance agents, and so on. So someone told me, says like, I think I want to advertise there. I would like to submit for to create a budget for those things. So I said, well, get the return on investment on that, and why is this person, offering you this opportunity. So we started doing a little bit of digging, and we found out that it was not a great opportunity. So I said, number one is it's a good way to spend money. Number two is really short. It doesn't really give you a lot of power in terms of exposure. And the last thing, nobody's buying the advertising from this company. So why would you want to spend the money on that? So immediately what we did is just got that. And then you said, let's invest this money in the sphere of influence. And maybe we send them like a quarterly magazine that is crafted to you, branded to you. These people already know you, and these people will give you referrals. This person followed our advice, did that, and now, got like 7 or 8 referrals out of that whole thing. So this is where, like, again, if something that is just going to be happening like once, it's like going to that restaurant that you went once and you would never want to go back, like just exactly just like that. So it's just the same. I used always the same illustrations. So like, if you don't want to go back to that restaurant, why you want to keep investing? So just don't do it that way. So that's sort of like an example of how we use that.
I think one filter, thank you, that was awesome, because I think that was a real world example. We've all had the grocery cart people calling us, right? But I think that happens a lot where agents come in with an idea and they heard the idea from another agent, but they don't ask, well, what was your return on investment? Like, oh yeah, I got one deal out of it. Well, one deal is not duplicatable, repeatable. That's not necessarily a cause and effect result. So anything else we want to share before we go, Steph?
I was just going to say too, like, if Chris came to me with 5 ideas, I'd capture all 5 and I'd throw them on a someday maybe list, and we would revisit it. I'd finish the one that was the most important to him. We'd get that done. And then I'd go back and say, okay, I have these other 4. Half the time he'd moved on from them and he didn't want to do them anymore, but that doesn't mean I didn't capture them. So still capture them, because some of them may be great ideas for later, but you only have so much time in a day. So you can take them, and then next quarter, you're like, hey, I've got these 4 ideas. Do we want to do one of these for one of my quarterly big rocks? Oh yeah, let's do this one. Okay, great. I'll do that one now.
Love it. Love it. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to have you guys pop back into the group, pop your contact info or website info. If people, actually, you can go ahead and give it here because people will be listening to this later on YouTube. So if people have referrals for Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C., Maryland, and you want to send them to Robert, where can they send them to? How do they reach you?
Sure. Best, I'll give you 2 ways that you can get a hold of me. My cell phone, 240-286-5526. You can call me, you can text me, and you can also send me an email, and that will be Robert at Eric, ERIC, Stewart, STEWART group.com. Or just simply follow me on social media. You can get a hold of me through social media too.
TikTok, there we go.
Yeah.
And Blair,
Instagram, TikTok, I'm pretty active in those.
Okay, awesome. Blair is in the Austin, Texas area. And how can people send referrals or connect with you?
Yeah, you can send those over to me via email, Blair, BLAIR at 𝗁𝗏𝗄𝗏.com, or you can give us a call, 512-261-1000.
Awesome. And Stephanie is licensed in Idaho.
I am. And my brother is actually still an active licensed realtor on Anderson Hicks Group. So if I don't want to take the deals, I always send him to my brother. He's awesome. Obviously, he's related to me. And so I know. So you can just send him to me at 𝗃_Brackett@gmail.com.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for making time for our group today. We really appreciate you. And we'll be back next month with our Coffee with Christy and crew, where you can participate live if you are in our private Be a Boss Facebook group, and otherwise you can watch us back on YouTube. So thank you guys very much for being with us.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.